Hello? Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, what's going on, Boise State fans? Happy Friday to you here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com, coming to you from the Western Collective Studios. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, San Diego State in town, biggest basketball home game of the season. Perfect time to get a couple Horseshoe Golden Ales, Orange Chaos Seltzers there during the game. They sell them there at Extra Mile Arena. You can also go to their brewery in Garden City as well. And, of course, our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. All your painting needs. Check out our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. We got our man Brad Bedell with us today since his Wednesday was New Year's and didn't want to have to make him work on New Year's. And I didn't want to do a show on New Year's either. So we did not do a show. And we're back now. And Jay Tust going to join us for a little bit as well, Brad, for his regularly scheduled Friday appearance. I know his time's limited today because he's traveling back from Phoenix. We got a lot. We traveled back yesterday. A lot of folks still kind of getting back in the rhythm here after the game, after the holiday. And so we got Brad. Jay will join us and a lot to discuss, Brad. I can't wait to get your thoughts on the game, but obviously Dirk Cutter came out with a pretty, scary, you're just hoping that he doesn't stuff that other people don't know in terms of the NIL and what's going on with that. Cause I know there's a lot of concern right now. The portal is open for 5 days after you finish your season. So that means it's Sunday is the last day. So today, Saturday, and Sunday, we're 2/5 of the way there. And to this point, no, once a Bronco, always a Bronco type, but tweets yet where folks are announcing they're moving into the portal in terms of key players. So we'll get to that and what if we think there's a chance they may lose a guy by Sunday. So a lot of rambling there in the opening statement. But how we doing, Brad?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hope you had a good New Year's and. Obviously, the result was what fans in Boise wanted. Disappointing game. And for me, Brad, and we'll start with the game and then get to the NIL stuff. The biggest disappointing part was just that it didn't seem like Boise State, that Penn State saw Boise State's best effort. I mean, with all the penalties, with some of the other mistakes, the missed tackles, some of the, Ashton Genty fumbling twice. I mean, that never happens. I don't know. It didn't feel like, if you play your best and you get beat by the better team, you say, all right, that's it. But I don't, and I'm not saying that Boise State was the better team. I just don't think we got a fair chance. And maybe if you play that game 5 times, you have a better idea of what it is. But the penalties and just some of the uncharacteristic mistakes and just whether there was the layoff or I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't Boise State's night. Well,
I mean, if you really look at the design of this, I mean, everybody with a first round bye said this isn't our night. I mean, they all lost. So that's one thing. But let's not make an excuse here. I mean, that's not they didn't play their best game. Now the other thing is when you're playing against a really good football team in Penn State, exposes some things, right? I mean, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. And so I think Boise State, it was kind of a domino effect. Really, it's not, and I don't want to say this. I didn't say, I saw some people saying, oh, the moment was too big. No, stop it. Okay. I mean, one of them, Genty got one of them back, right? They got Carry-On recovered it. Yep. The fumbles, one of them on the sideline is just perfect punch out. I mean, you got to give Penn State some credit here.
There on the sidelines with his foot in bounds.
Right. I mean, you got to give Penn State some credit too. I mean, you can't just say Boise didn't play well. I mean, Penn State played well. It's Boise needed to play. I don't want to say perfect because nobody's going to ever play a perfect game. It's just Boise had to play completely almost mistake free, where there were some costly mistakes and Penn State took advantage of it. The missed tackles and things like that can happen on a layoff. But I mean, he's a good tailback. I don't want to take anything from Penn State, just like I don't want to take anything from Boise State's season. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, it's like and I tend, now that I'm not into it as much, I tend to go on. I like to get a beat. I mean, because I was talking to some people when we were watching this game, and we were done watching it, and I almost lost the TV, which is okay. But and then you get onto Twitter and it's like, oh, fire him, fire this, fire that. Now that I'm into that a little bit and I'm not quite in the realm and I don't get into like a huddle cocoon after a loss, it's really ridiculous. It's like, I mean, some people want to bring out the quarterback controversy. There was no controversy. And if Maddox didn't play the way he played in that game, it would have been a lot worse. A lot worse. A lot worse.
I thought the interceptions were just kind of desperation mode. You're losing big. You got to make something happen. I don't think he had 3 interceptions is really fair. It is a true indication. I thought he made some really nice throws. If Latrell Caples makes that catch down there inside the 5-yard line at the very beginning of the fourth quarter, he was wide open and kind of fell down and missed that catch. If he catches that, you punch it in, you're back down 3 again, early in the fourth.
It's just what happened. I mean, they didn't get the run game going in a consistent basis. And I will say this, I think Maddox operates best with a very good run game with some play action. He's not a true drop back style quarterback. I don't, you know what I mean? But he on third down he can, but can you make the heyday all the time? I'm a huge fan. I think he is a good quarterback. That he needs the surrounding cast. And I think when you don't get the run game going, it's kind of the whole season, right? I mean, Coach Cutter made it clear. It's us, Navy, Army, Air Force. We run the ball. And when that got limited a little bit, the hands got tied and forced them into some longer third downs than I think they wanted. And defensively, they got to the quarterback at times, but some, the blitz packages, they mixed coverage up really well. It's just Penn State got explosive on offense, and you didn't have the explosive plays, the chunk plays to get Boise State in the red zone to take advantage of things. Because that's one of Boise State's strong suits is a red zone. And when you don't get into it at a consistent basis, it makes things hard. And it's a kick in the balls is what it is. It's just, it hurts, and it's a tough way to end because you never want to end your season on a loss. You don't. It's not. Those coaches and those players are going to remember that game for the next 10 years of their life. And the problem is you're never going to look back and win the game, but it's going to eat at your soul for the next 10 years of your life. You never,
No.
I couldn't tell you right now. I couldn't tell you how many wins we've had all the time, but I can tell you what happened on every single loss at Boise State. And they kill you. They rip your soul.
Yeah, I was talking to Leon Rice about that, the basketball coach. He just won his 300th game, and he's like, I don't remember many of the 300, but I can tell you about every one of the 158, losses.
Yeah. I mean, I can still remember. Oh hell, I still get blamed on that the block kick in the overtime game with Fresno, that's a disaster. But
you should have got blamed.
It was left hash. They ran option to the field, and we missed the tackle touchdown. We freaking lose at home on a conference title. And Washington, we just got the crap kicked out of us. It's just that's what happens as a player. That's what happens as a coach. Magnify that in the Fiesta Bowl. And I would say this. I thought they were prepared. I thought they were ready. I didn't think that they were cutting people loose. I do think they got out strength at times. I think the size of Penn State kind of came through at times. Even their dude got hurt. And then they brought in that number 15, who we talked about that at the pregame. They moved him around. They put him on the guard. They took 11's plan and just converted it to number 15. And that guy's a freak show. And so it's nothing against Boise State. It's just Penn State played really well. Penn State's starting to click now. And I was dead ass wrong on Notre Dame. I was one of the guys saying Notre Dame shouldn't be in it. And boy, am I wrong. And so it's just one of those things of I'm very not excited. I want to know it's already got to get blown up, in my opinion, because I think you go to 16 teams and no first round buys. I mean, and we talked about it, and it was a big thing for us, BJ. I know Jay's here. Is this? Do you want the buy or do you want to continue to play? And that is a fine line right there. Of the teams that continue to play, they stayed in flow, right? And their offense kept clicking, things like that. Where the teams that, if you really want to study the teams that had the buy, the team that played the best was Arizona State, and I think that. They lost something. Now, I think at Boise State's they got some players back, but we can also, hindsight's 2020, right? Okay, who don't have them back, you keep the flow, you win the game. You can't do both ends of your mouth. I still think the bye helped Boise health-wise. It didn't help with the flow of the offense. I think hurt Georgia. Well, the quarterback hurt Georgia. But, I mean, Arizona State I think at the end of the day, they got out muscled too.
Yeah, I think the plan was probably to go to 14, but I think now they may have to just say, do we go to 16 instead? Because you're right about that. And then you just do all first 8 games on the home campus sites and go from there. That seems to make a little more sense. I know 14 was, I think, going to be the plan, but I think, and then we do bring in Jay Tust, sports director at KTVB, joins us. Jay's luckier than both of us. He's still enjoying the warm Phoenix weather there for a few more hours.
Nice.
But Jay, I was going to ask you about Ashton Genty, but you can stay on this topic if you want. Just the 4 teams that had the buys, all part of it was the buy, part of it was 2 of them were actually the lower ranked teams. I mean, it's not just the buy, but that plays into it. Obviously, is all 4 teams with the buy lost, and just your big picture takeaway, I guess.
I guess I'm just curious on when they change it, because technically it's not supposed to change until 26. But if everybody gets on board, meaning you're talking ESPN, all the conference commissioners, it has to be unanimous in order to change it by 2025, which is the year we're currently in. So
don't forget, people forget that on this 12-team playoff. This deal that ends next year was originally the 4-team playoff. They changed this 2 years ago, whatever, and all agreed to vote and make it. But this is still part of the original 12-year deal. So they've already done this once where they've changed it early. And you're right. They could hopefully get something done by next year. But if not, it'll for sure be by 26. Sorry.
Now, the narrative of the group of 5 and the seeding is going to creep back in clearly. But I do think it's interesting how now that the topic of discussion has kind of shifted a little bit. Everybody was furious that a group of 5 school got a bye. And now everybody's wondering, as you were saying, Bedell, we have to consider the bye. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Because the sample size is super small. It is 1 year. But either way, all of the teams that got the bye, they went 0-4. And every single one of those teams trailed by at least 2 touchdowns. Arizona State, as you mentioned as well, was the only one that played well enough to come back and actually take a lead in the game. And it took a 4th and 13, as you tweeted out yesterday, BJ, for the lone SEC team, I believe that was you, to actually get a victory. And that SEC team, by the way, was in the Big 12, 6 months ago. So it's interesting to me. The discussion and the focus has shifted just a little bit to how are these teams getting buys to, okay, are buys even good anymore? But I mean, if we want to talk about seeding like that, maybe the weirdest thing of the whole thing was the fact that the number 1 seed Oregon had to play Ohio State. Like that, I don't even know what you do to avoid that, because Ohio State lost to Michigan and they kind of set this up. But that was probably the most unfortunate thing. That being said, I mean, what are you going to do? Delay it a week? I mean.
No, I don't think he delayed a week. But do we need 10 to 14 days in between every game? Let's go 7 days. That's one. Number 2, I don't think interconference teams should play each other in a tournament. I disagree with that. I think this committee completely screwed that up. Okay. The other thing is let's go back to the basketball thing. It's like everybody plays the season. Okay. You have your preseason rankings. Let's not take those away. And then you know what? 16 teams. We're going to seed everybody after this championship game. You don't know. You don't have a clue who you're playing. You don't. So now it puts some strain on some coaches saying, okay, who are we going to get ready for? You can't get ready for 14 teams. You got to just wait. And now it's like, okay, we're continuing the season. It's the same thing as the FCS. You're just going to continue the season, home games, bowl games, and now maybe you still can keep the game in January 20th. I mean, you know how far out that is? The championship game is Monday for the FCS. Is Monday. Because they don't take long breaks in between games. They don't have their bowl game on a Tuesday. It's not. And the other thing, okay, don't make bowl games on Tuesday. This is so stupid. Put them on a Friday or a Saturday. Okay, the SEC commissioner's already bitching because his guys didn't get enough time off and wants to flip a bowl game. I'm sorry, dude. Get off your high horse. You're not the Mecca, so stop it. It's now the SEC. The one thing this commissioner did, he lost some power this year, is because now, I truly still believe the SEC is the best conference in college football, but they've lost some power. It takes Texas, in Georgia and Notre Dame right now, and Ohio State and Penn State, in my opinion, are playing better than Texas right now, especially on defense. So it's not, you can't do that. No first round buys. It goes Saturday. If you play Friday, if ESPN wants to play a game on Friday, that's fine. But I think the higher seeds play Saturday, the lower seeds play on Friday. And then it travels through.
I do think it's kind of funny.
I was going to say, Jay, like literally when the NCAA basketball tournament comes out on a Sunday night, there's teams that play Tuesday night in the first 4. You get 48 hours to play an NCAA tournament game when you don't know who they're playing. I get it. Football is more involved in the game plan and all that, but you've had times in the regular season, Brad, where you're waiting until the final game of the regular season to see who you're going to play in the championship the next week. Like not finding out till, a Sunday that who you're playing the next Saturday is not like the most craziest thing in the world. I agree. You don't need the extra week. Just start it the next weekend. It
is crazy that you guys, Brad, are like creatures of habit.
Oh God.
And you go through these 7-day cycles for 3.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, once we get to the end, it's like, let's go 10 days.
It doesn't make sense. Right. And the other thing is it's not like technology can change this. It's not like, okay, we find out here's the seedings. Boise, you're playing Indiana next Saturday. Okay. They're going to have all that film on Indiana within an hour.
Yeah.
It's not like you're waiting to drive or to fly 10 millimeter film to get on the reel to fly back to get the game. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, is the other thing is you have these stabs are so big now. right? So it's not like, okay, we're going to go practice. I need you four. You're staying in to break down film. And then I want all the cut-ups done. So when the staff gets off the field, because we're just going to do a normal practice and condition and warm them up and do all that stuff, we don't need you. No offense, but we don't need you guys. Break down the film, get it done. When we get it, we'll start. That's, say it's Saturday. Then they get a normal Sunday, Monday, play Saturday, and then it travels on. Hold on. What's the difference between some of these early bowl games that they find out and go, okay, oh, by the way, you're playing in 8 days, and this is who you're playing? I mean, I think you can literally operate that way. And it's not, yep. It's a test of just how healthy you are. And that's the way it is. And I hate to tell you this, you're not going to get between 7 to 10 games. You're not going to get a guy back. You're just not. He's going to, like the Notre Dame defensive tackle. He's not coming back. He's hurt. It's just a part of the game. So don't use injuries to do this. And you can't go to the NFL model because the NFL doesn't give a rat's ass because they play Sunday and then play Thursday. So I don't want to hear about that crap either.
I think NFL. You mentioned NFL. I think that's actually why the semifinal games are Thursday and Friday. They don't want to compete with Saturday. The NFL moved to Saturday for, I don't know if that's the wild card weekend. I believe it might be. I believe that's why they didn't want to compete with wild card weekend of the NFL on Saturday.
Right. But I agree. That's just a TV deal, which is okay. That's fine. Well, the bowl games on Christmas try to compete, or somebody try to compete with the NFL. The NFL is dominant right now. I mean, it's just like, that is what it is. It doesn't, but you got to play that game. So, okay, they don't tune in. Okay, let's say you're going to lose 4 million people, but it's the means to the end. You have to get the game done to get the higher viewership at the end.
And I will say this, it's something, Jay, where it's not quite as bad if both teams have the same amount of rest. You know, if one team's having a month off, one team's having 10 days. So maybe you get the first round out of the way, or maybe even the first 2 rounds on like those next 2 Saturdays in December. And then maybe you take a bye before the Final Four or something around Christmas. Then you get down to, so you play 2 games, then you have a week off, and then you have your semifinals, finals, maybe something like that, where you're still finishing January 8th or 9th or something instead of the 20th. And it's not 4 weekends in a row for those guys. I don't know. But because, sometimes those Final Four games when both teams have a month off, it's pretty sloppy. The under usually hits the first half anyway for both teams. But something has to change. And I think at a minimum, would you guys agree that I think the 4 buys are gone before next year? They'll at least all agree on that. Or, I mean, just giving them if they can't change the number of teams by 2026, I think they're at least going to say, you know what, we're giving the buys to the teams 1 through 4, not the conference champions.
I think that if anything, I think that happens. But then with what happened this year, BJ, you have to argue if that's even a good thing or not. The one thing I will say is that everybody was, complaining about who was in and who was out of the 12-team field. I don't know who of the teams that have been left out. I don't know who's made the argument in their postseason play. Yep, we should have been included. I mean, Ole Miss just played a Duke team that didn't even have their starting quarterback because he's going to Oregon State. That's a weird one by the way. But Alabama was basically a no-show for the first half against Michigan. I don't know who got left out that really made a point that they should have been included on the field. We can argue who's most deserving and who are the best teams. Well, win games, and then you get into the tournament. I mean, it's that simple.
I think UNLV. I think you go 16 teams. I think UNLV has an argument to get in.
You know what?
Because, they came in, they won the game. They did all that. So that's the UNLV is the only team right now that I can say out of all of them deserved from the field of play to get into a higher thing. And the only thing that needs to be voted on, guys, is, let's expand it, right? You're not telling me the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12. Okay. By the way, Colorado got boat raced, so don't even give me that crap. They're going to say yes, expand it. Oh, okay. If you want to expand, we'll allow one more G5 team in. What I don't think that's a problem because you're getting 1 to add 3. You know what I'm saying? It's just I don't think that's a problem. But I think UNLV has the greatest argument of maybe we should have been in this.
Yeah. Another thing too, that an argument, Maybe Notre Dame has an argument too. They technically couldn't earn a bye, and now you're looking at those guys being like, gosh, maybe they should be able to climb into the top 4 and earn a bye, if that's even a good thing. I don't know. There's a lot of discussion to be had, but I don't think it's the problems that they're going to try to address are the ones that, we all concocted going into this thing. I think that other problems have kind of revealed themselves, and it's the first time they've done it, but I'll reiterate, they got to get everybody on board to change it by 2020. And the one thing I will add to that is if you're wondering, well, why would Gloria Nevarez out of the Mountain West, try to agree to changing anything right now? I mean, there's 12 teams, and likely a team out of her conference is going to have a great shot at making the college football playoff as it currently stands. The reason why you might have to negotiate is because in 2026, if you upset the SEC and Big 12, they could just decide, you know what, screw it, we're not going to do this. We're doing our own thing. Forget you guys. So you might be almost forced to compromise, in the next calendar year.
All right, 2 other topics. Did you have any final thoughts on that, Brad?
Yeah, the Mount West, they got to get it for money-wise. She's throwing too much money out to these other schools and promising. She's promising the farm and has chickens. I hate to tell you that, but she's promising the farm. You're getting promised filet mignon in payments, and you're about to get round steak. I mean, she's doing a lot. She's promising a lot, and money talks.
Hey, I'm gonna talk crap about round steak, Bedell.
Hey, a round steak is really good if you're going to cut it up and put it with a bunch of other crap. But I mean, she's promising a lot that right now is getting tied up in the courts because they're. And I don't agree with it. I think if you're going to leave a conference, you got to pony up. I'm not going to go buy a car and all of a sudden say I'm not paying for the car.
Yeah.
Right. So she's got it. The school. I disagree with the lawsuits. You got to pay the money. If you made the decision to get out, you got to pay the money. Now they're just doing all that for negotiations. Like, okay, we owe you 25. We're going to pay you 17. Okay, great. But she promised UNLV $25 million to stay. Don't do that. You better wait.
And that's UNLV could still end up at some point in the pack because if they can't get paid, they might be able to get out of their contract and realize they made a mistake by not going. I got 2 other topics I want to get to here, and our time is limited, guys. I need to thank a couple sponsors real quick. Western Collective, our studio sponsor. Check them out at the Extra Mile Arena tomorrow if you're heading to the game, that Horseshoe Golden Ale. Support student athletes. So one of our topics here is on NIL and the Horseshoe Collective, and they could use your support. And every beer purchase, the Horseshoe Golden Ale portion of the proceeds goes to benefit the Horseshoe Collective. So have a good, delicious, tasty beer and help out the student athletes at Boise State in the process with the Horseshoe Golden Ale from Western Collective. Our title sponsor, rowpaint.com, saw Andy Rowe down at the Fiesta Bowl. Rowpaint.com, all your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, check them out. Best in the business. All your painting needs. Hit up our title sponsor. There would be no BNN without rowpaint.com. Give them a call now at 991-0567. Check them out online at rowpaint.com. ICCU, Idaho Central Credit Union. They've got great online e-mobile banking. The Raines family is so happy we made the switch. We're just mad we didn't know how great it was and make the switch sooner. You may like your online banking experience. I can promise you, even some of just the small features like card control, where if you're going out of the country or if you lose your card for an hour, you can just turn it off, turn it back on, not have to cancel your card altogether. So many great options and things. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but as I said, you can get everything you need at ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate will be picking our Bauscher Real Estate Player of the Game for the basketball game tomorrow against San Diego State. When you buy or sell a home with Matt, you get to meet everybody in that photo there. Customer service is unmatched. I know everybody has 5 friends that are realtors, but I promise you, you'll get unmatched customer service, personal attention. Bauscher Real Estate. Check them out online at bauscherrealestate.com. And Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. Ridley's Family Markets has locations in the Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, surrounding areas and states as well. Almost 30 locations in all. Ridley's Family Markets. Download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line with Ridley's Family Markets. Snake River Pool and Spa, patio and game. TheSpaTeam.com. Whether you need a spa, whether you need a pool table, Whether you need a sauna, they got you covered. Locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Check them out at thespateam.com. And I want to thank our friends at Lithia Ford of Boise as well. Speaking of NIL deals, they got 6 NIL deals with student athletes at Boise State, including 4 football players. The weather is getting cold. It's getting icy. It's getting snowy. You need to have a vehicle equipped for the conditions. The all-wheel drive, the 4-wheel drive vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. Rain's family has our F-150 purchased from there. We're loving it. So if you need a new vehicle, they got some great sales post-New Year's going on right now. Check them out online, lithiafordboise.com, or go view their full showroom and lot right there on Fairview Avenue in Boise. All right, guys, 2 topics I want to get to. First of all, the offensive coordinator position. I wouldn't really call this a report, but Bruce Feldman says that he expects, 7 minutes ago tweeted that he expects Nate Potter to get promoted to OC with the retirement of Dirk Cutter. I think we all have kind of thought that might be happening based on a lot of different factors, one of which was Tim Brando like a month ago on one of the broadcasts basically reporting that was happening. But Nate Potter possibly moving to OC. You have to figure out who's going to be the quarterback's coach. Does Matt Miller move to quarterback's coach, and then you hire a wide receivers coach? Jay, kind of start with you. What's your take on what they might do here with Dirk Cutter yesterday officially retiring?
Yeah, I think that, you put Nate Potter in the box next to Dirk Cutter, probably reason, right? So, yeah, I think he's the guy that takes over, and then you look at Matt Miller as a QB coach, and then you decide what to do from there. We'll see how the offseason plays out. That everybody speculated could Dirk come back another year, and I know he's done it a couple of times, and we've been telling him for weeks it's not happening. But yeah, yesterday I think that he kind of made it official that that's not happening. So if you don't believe us, you can believe Coach Cutter that 42 years.
National headlines that Dirk Cutter is retiring. Like, we've known all along he was going to be done after that game. So I kind of saw that, not clickbait, but I thought that was a little weird. Some of the stories out there about Dirk Cutter retiring. We knew he was retiring. I don't know why folks were thinking that would change.
I guess the one thing that I have for Bedell that maybe you can shed a little bit of light on, I've always thought like run game coordinator and pass game coordinator. I thought those are just like kind of fancy titles so that you could increase a coach's salary, which probably is the case to a degree. But I will say, talking with some of the guys, they said, they would say kind of behind the scenes, and Nate Potter really did do a lot of work as the run game coordinator and deserves a lot of credit for their success on the ground this year. So I guess I'm curious your thoughts on that, Bedell.
No, I think they have a little bit more say. They have a little bit of a trump card, right? So it's like you got to get together as the coordinators and, okay, what are you thinking in the run game? And Potter or whoever it is, okay, we really like X, Y, and Z out of these formations. And then if you're going to build it off the run game, which they did last year, that means the passing game's got to fit those formations so you don't break a bunch of tendencies. And so I think Potter does deserve a lot of credit. I think you're going to see different titles come out, right? I think Potter may be the offensive coordinator, maybe Miller gets a co or something like that because of bump and pay and then how they want to do that, right? I would say that happens with the coordinating, things like that. And then as you get into it, it's if you're not running very well, who's the run game coordinator, right? It's things like that. So I have an interesting take on this one. I think Spencer is actually in I think it's a good position, and I think it's going to be interesting is with Matt Miller being able to coach quarterbacks and the wide receivers. He's a little bit of a trump card. Now, Spence and the offensive staff can get together. Okay, I want to talk who are the best 5 quarterback coaches that we want to interview. Who are the best 5 wide receiver coaches we want to interview? And then you're going to get the best coaches, the best coach out of those 10. And go, okay, well, this guy's on it. He's dialed. He's organized. He's clear. He taught us everything. I love him. But he's a wide receivers guy. Matt, what are you going to do? Well, I'll go to quarterbacks. Where you get the quarterback guy and you get in there and go, okay, this guy, good rapport, good with the quarterbacks, good passing game guy, good fundamentals, things like that. Okay, we want him to coach quarterbacks. Matt, you're going to coach wide receivers. So I think you have the opportunity. Your pool gets bigger to get the best coach. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very good where he's not Spence and that staff's not pigeonholed to go, I only have to hire this guy, and the pool sucks, but he's the best we got.
Yeah.
Now, what do you make, Jay, of oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just to build off that, I'm going to guess you're going to agree with me here, BJ. I even think that probably the makeup of what Boise State was going to do in terms of position coaches also probably got a little more complicated when they lost, their a quality control guy to be the offensive coordinator at UCF. I mean, Boise State, we thought that they might lose somebody to UCF. Didn't think it was necessarily going to be that guy, right? But he's tremendously talented. Don't get me wrong. So I even think that by him moving on, that probably even kind of made them shift their future plans a little bit.
I would just say this, like, nothing against Nate Potter, and I think a lot of fans, though, were expecting Matt Miller to be the choice over Nate Potter if it's going to be one of those two, because you look at Nate Potter's resume. I mean, he played, offensive line, and then as a coach, his first full-time coaching gig, offensive line coach at College of Idaho, 3 years as the tight ends coach at Montana State, tight ends coach, run game coordinator the last, in 22 and 23, and then was named co-OC, but was still the tight ends coach. Did sit next to Dirk Cutter, but wasn't really calling the plays or anything in terms of being the co-OC. So you have a guy in Nate Potter who has never coached quarterbacks, never called plays, and never really been the offensive, has really been tight end and O-line coach and player his entire career. Now maybe being the play caller and offensive line coach for a team that just made the college football playoff. It just, nothing against Nate Potter. He may come in and maybe he just hasn't earned that chance and he's ready for it. We just haven't seen it yet. And that seems like a fairly big jump, Brad, for, this is a school that just made the playoff. And like you just said, you're going to have some very high interested level candidates for these positions. And to promote a guy, as I said, who's been the O-line tight ends coach and has never called plays before, to me, and some may seem like a little bit of a jump when you have a guy like Matt Miller, who, has for a year and a half was the OC and quarterbacks coach at Montana State, and also, has coached wide receivers, passing game coordinator, probably been involved as passing game coordinator with the quarterbacks more. Just what do you make of those two guys? And if it is the case where he's picking Nate Potter on this?
Not for me. Nate Potter is with us. He was a GA when I was the O-line guy. Nate Potter is one of the smartest guys I've ever been around.
Well, there you go.
This does not surprise me one bit. It also will not surprise me one bit if that's his dream, is to see Nate Potter as a head football coach somewhere in college football in the next 10 years. If that's what he wants to do. I wouldn't be fast forward 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if Nate Potter is coaching the tight ends and co-OC in the National Football League. Nate Potter is very smart. And not only is Nate smart, but Nate relates to it. He's a great teacher, relates to kids, things like that. But, he may call it and all that stuff, but he's got Miller. I think they're going to get another experienced coach coming in. And that's just it's going to help Nate along the way, right? I mean, that's what key is. It's what are they going to surround Nate with? And I think Tim Keene's done a great job. And so I think they bring another experienced guy with Matt. I think Nate Potter, the sky's the limit. Nate Potter's extraordinarily smart and just a really, really good football coach.
Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear because, like I said, I'm not trying to disrespect the guy. I love him. Seems like
no, I'm not saying that.
On paper, he hasn't coached anything higher than O-line and tight ends. Is all I'm pointing out.
I would agree. I mean, no, you're not wrong. But offensive coordinators kind of come out of we think quarterbacks, right? But if you think about some offensive coordinators, that tight end position is interesting because it's the only position on the field besides really, wide receivers to an extent, but the tight end position's got to be so just completely bought in the run game, completely bought in the passing game. You have to know schemes you got to know the entire offense. And so that's why it doesn't worry me. Now, calling plays, sure. It's different and it's stressful and things like that. But I think Nate Potter is going to do a phenomenal job. If that's who calls it. Who calls it's going to be months down the road, right? But I think Nate and Matt are phenomenal coaches, and I trust Spencer to go find the best guy that fits the Boise way. And that's what the important thing is. The greatest, flashiest coaches don't always work great here. It doesn't work that way. You have to find the best fit for Boise. And that's the one thing about what Mr. Dickey's doing, all that is the salaries are going to be fine. It's going to be competitive. And you just need to find the best, like the guy may be the smartest guy in the room, but if he's an asshole or if he's arrogant or something like that, that doesn't fit this world here. So I think I trust Spencer to find the best fit for Boise.
Yeah.
What do you say about
I'm right there with you, Bedell. I've covered Nate for a long time, going back to his playing days, and the one thing you hear about Nate is he's brilliant, and I think that's followed him throughout his entire coaching career, and I heard as recently as last year he might there was somebody interested in taking him to the SEC, with them that used to be a play caller at Boise State, but there just really wasn't an opportunity, at Kentucky for him or anything like that, and I know stuff like that can be dismissed, but I did hear that. So there are people that think very, very highly of Nate Potter, and I'm excited to see him get this opportunity. And I mean, you got to get it at some point in time, right? Like I think that it wouldn't be wise to go request him to get it elsewhere and hope that he comes back. Another thing, this has been probably about a year in the making. I mean, it's not like he's just. I know that he hasn't, might not have called plays in games before, but with Dirk coming back, this is something that they have spent a year on, and so he is this brilliant guy has been preparing for this moment in probably a way that will really help him, when the time comes. So that's just my take on it. But yeah, he might not have experience calling plays, but I think you want Nate Potter in your program.
Well, speaking of Dirk Cutter, and I know our time is short here with Jay, so I want to get to the last topic here real briefly. Jay, Dirk Cutter, last night, again, not really news to me that he announces he's retiring, but he puts out the Facebook note. And I think the point, the one that everybody was looking for was, the part, he said, now for the tough part, Bronco Nation has always done whatever it takes to give the Broncos the best opportunity to compete on the field. He mentioned a lot of the upgrades and things, but he said, we are behind right now in the NIL game. Our best players are getting offered between 2 and 10 times what we can offer. We are losing recruits in the portal to schools that are just flat out bidding us. I know it's not all about the money. Coach D and staff will undoubtedly continue to find the right kind of guys, but money is an issue. I know ticket and travel costs continue to rise, but I hope you will join me in contributing to the Horseshoe Collective so that Coach D can keep our best players in Boise and continue to find the next Ashton Genty or Ahmed Hassanin. I am mailing my check tomorrow, and every little bit helps. Thank you for a fun season, and go Broncos. Strong words there from Dirk Cutter, and a lot of fans immediately, Jay, took that. I think rightfully so. Got a little nervous about, what is maybe Dirk Cutter knows that nobody else knows yet in terms of players potentially entering the portal in the next few days. The portal ends Sunday night at midnight for Boise State players. They get 5 days after the Fiesta Bowl, so Wednesday through Sunday. Just your take on Dirk Cutter and the portal and whichever direction you want to take it, Jay. Obviously, pins and needles, I guess, these next 72 hours to see if anybody leaves.
Yeah, they're going to be fighting like hell to keep their top tier talent, and those are the guys that got the national spotlight on Friday, right, or on Tuesday, I guess, right? So they're going to be fighting like hell for that, and it should be no surprise. This is what happens, and I guess it's cool that Cutter is putting it out there. Now he can speak transparently about things now that he's back on the other side of it. It also shows he's a fan of the program. One thing I'm going to say too is, and I know that Maddox Madsen's not Kellen Moore, because you're ridiculous if you think somebody's going to step in and go 50-3. But to throw for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 picks, and I know he threw a couple of picks against Penn State, or a few of them. A couple of them came late when he was trying to force the ball, and it was not within the rhythm of the game, in my opinion. Not to give him a complete pass on it, but he was kind of trying to be hero ball versus doing the things that Boise State did to get to this point. But he was forced into that situation. But if you don't think a guy like that is interest, if you're on Twitter saying it's time to move on from 4 or anything like that, you better start envisioning what this team is like without him, because I don't know what the better option is. And, going even off of, not that Dirk said this in his message, but clearly Boise State is financially strapped. if you want to just, if you think that you don't want to go all in on Maddox or want him a part of this program, and you think there's a better option in the program, or you can just go pay somebody to come be here and be the option, you're misguided. And I would spend more time probably complimenting Fuller on social media than I would be about, knocking what he isn't. And that's just me. This program is better with Maddox Madsen at it unequivocally. And can they bring somebody in to compete? Sure, they should do that in every position. But given the experience he has, there are guys. The pool's running out of options of guys that have legitimate playing experience. And I guarantee you there are programs out there that would love to complement their offensive system, depth chart, whatever you want to call it, with a guy like Maddox Madsen.
We've talked about that, Jay. No doubt. I've heard for sure I've heard Maddox Madsen is getting interest in the portal. And that was like a couple weeks ago. Then he goes and throws for 300 yards against Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, in this day and age,
you know how many guys have thrown for 300 yards against Penn State this year? That boy Bedell, doing your homework. One. His name's Maddox Madsen.
Yep.
One. Talk about a quarterback that passed for 3,000 yards, had a 23-6 or whatever it was, touchdown to interception ratio for a conference championship team, a team that went to the playoff, and by all indications, a high character kid with multiple years of eligibility left. You don't think that kid couldn't be worth six figures or whatever in the portal somewhere? I mean, people want to bash on this kid and say they should have done better, but there's a lot of, like you said, Jay. I mean, there's other schools putting their money where their mouth is and saying they want Maddox Madsen. So we'll see what Boise State can do. But I mean, I don't think it's like Maddox Madsen would never leave. Nobody wants him. He's clear. I'm not trying to say doom and gloom. Maddox Madsen's leaving, guys, but he 100%, I guarantee, is going to have some sort of decision to make.
Yeah. But the whole point of this argument is for some of the, and this is a minority. This is not, I don't want to make this as every Boise State fan. This is a small group over here, but still that small group, it carries weight, not only within Maddox, but I'm guessing his family. They hear it, right? And so I think that stuff matters in the decision-making process. And when you're a kid that's given everything you can and performing pretty well, and you're still wearing it, that can wear on you. And to go further, a little bit further down the road here, Bedell, it would blow my mind if you knew the answers to these ones, just because I feel like I did quite a bit of research on this. But when it comes to Maddox Madsen, he is the second Group of 5 quarterback to throw for 300 yards against Penn State in the James Franklin era. That's over 140 games. It dates back to 2014. And he is the 15th quarterback. And again, over 140 games, only 15 quarterbacks have thrown for over 300 yards against Penn State. So we can focus on the 3 picks. He probably wishes he could have a couple of those throws back because he was a little over aggressive with them. But again, my point, this team's better. This program's better with Maddox Madsen in it. So take care of him.
Brad, hold your thought for 1 second here because Jay's got to go. I want to get a final thought from Jay. Anybody I think batting 1,000 would be probably almost impossible. But where are you in terms of them being able to keep most of these guys? I don't know. Just what's your final take on the portal, I guess, in Sunday night overall?
Batting 1,000 is going to be tough. It felt like batting 1,000 last year was keeping Ashton Genty. But Spencer Danielson's got a lot of sweat equity with these boys, a lot of trust with them, and that's probably his greatest asset right now. And so how close do you need to get to any figure? Heck, man, this extends to his assistant coaches too. I know that, he's assistant coaches that are coveted on his staff, and I also know that they're going to raise they're going to pony up for some of these guys as much as they can. It's not about paying them more, but what is enough to realize you can be satisfied there and also have an awesome situation here, because we all know how great it is to live in the city of trees. And so what is the number you got to get to where you can just make that attractive enough? Because you're not going to be able to pay top dollar. So we'll see. Hopefully they keep most of them. It would be awesome if they kept all of them, but I think we also have to be realistic.
Well, appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you at Extra Mile Arena, big basketball game tomorrow.
Yep. Sounds good, buddy. Later, Bedell.
See ya.
Brad, your thoughts on Maddox Madsen. Jordan says Maddox has gotten the Max Rice treatment. Only 2 years in, it's messed up. And it just goes back to the whole quarterback battle with Malachi Nelson. And it just seems like there's a small fraction of the fan base that's never bought into Maddox Madsen as quarterback. And maybe it's the 1%, and we shouldn't even be talking about this, whatever. But there are at least some out there that want them to go move on from him. I saw a lot of hate after the game on that. Interest in the portal, Maddox Madsen, where are you on everything Jay said there?
I mean, I think everybody's looking for a quarterback. And I think he'll get interest, right? Here's a scarier thought. Okay. And then there's somebody in California that I've talked to that has had a quarterback leave. Okay. He jumped in the portal. Okay. The quarterback was okay. He wasn't Maddox. $750,000 they're going to pay this kid. $750,000. That
is he
was
going to Indiana?
Dead ass average. Okay. Now, Maddox leaves. You're cash strapped. What can you afford to get a top tier quarterback that just had the numbers that Maddox had? Okay. And not going to cost you close to $1 million. That's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. Now, you need to bring somebody to compete with him. I'm not saying that. That's the Boise way. That's fine. But all of a sudden, if he takes off, and all of a sudden, oh my God, we need a quarterback. Okay, who we got? Here's the pool. What's your agent say? We got to pay him $750,000. They paid Genty $3 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
And what quarterback are you come in and compete with him when you're not paying them much money? You're not going to be paying a quarterback to come in and compete with Maddox Madsen much money either. So what kind of quality of quarterback are you getting to come in to compete?
Exactly. And I'm not saying Maddox to give him the whole hometown discount, but Genty gave him a huge hometown discount. And I think Maddox is the care. It comes down to two things, guys, in this whole thing is and I'll say it, it's not going to go over very well, but there's character and non-character, right? A character kid that's coming out of Boise is like, okay, this team's going to offer me $700,000, right? Well, I'd love to stay, but I need you guys to hit this mark, right? The character kid's going to give him the number. We'll get you the number. I'm staying. I'm not getting in. We're fine. He's the Genty. The non-character kid is, are you going to match $700,000 or not? No, we can't. Then I'm out of here. That doesn't go well. The Boise way is the guys that are bought into the Boise State University that want to play Boise State football and want to win games and work hard doing it and get developed in a football program. They're not money grab people. They're just not. It's not the way this program is going to be built. But if you can match numbers and go, okay, I know you're getting 700. This is the absolute best we can do. I'm in. All I wanted you to do was try to get me the most money you can. And you guys did that. And so I respect that. You told me the truth. You didn't lie to me. The other thing is some of these numbers that are coming out maybe not be true. Because remember, there's no care. I can go offer Spencer can go offer a kid $7 million right now and not have to pay it and he'll leave. But you can do that. It's all lies. It's all built on lies. And so that's the problem with this whole thing. But if let's say Maddox jumps in, and all of a sudden now I got to get a quarterback, you're not going to be able to afford the top tier quarterback. You may not be able to afford the mid-tier quarterback right now because you got other issues coming down. You got a left tackle that's sitting there that has a phenomenal year. Everybody is begging for offensive linemen right now, begging. If you are over 6'4" and you're over 310 pounds, you're probably going to get into an NFL camp right now just because they're limited that number. So I also think if you really look at the history and where this is going is once your quarterback jumps in or a bigger name player jumps in the portal, it almost opens up a floodgate. Next thing you know, you got 9 guys getting in because, oh my God, the quarterback jumped in. So we're not going to be very good because they don't think they just lost their quarterback. Like, I got to test the market. I got to go to free agency.
Basically, Joe Nickel, who's in charge of the collective, and in consultation with Spencer Danielson and whoever, saying, okay, let's just throw a round number out there. I have no idea if this is even close. Let's just say we to make it really small, and this is, they have more than this, I would assume, or maybe not. I'll just say $1 million. Okay. Just say they had $1 million and they say, okay, we have $1 million and we've got a roster of 85 guys or whatever scholarship going to 105. We've got, our key 20 guys that need to get something. And we've got our key 8 that might leave if we don't give them, more. I mean, you're basically asking Spencer Danielson, rank me your top 8 that you need to keep. And it's a Moneyball situation where you say we have a salary cap and we have this much money and we've got to give this much to this guy. And is this guy willing to take this? And we may lose our 5th guy. But I mean, it really is kind of a numbers game. And a school like Boise State that can't just throw around unlimited cash like an Oregon or whatever else, like you probably can't keep everybody.
Right. I agree with you there. And I was talking to a Big 12 personnel guy. And I was talking to him just, hey, I'm trying to figure this out, right? Just because I'm interested in it. I mean, I think the NIL, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's intriguing. I had a young man jump in the portal, okay, that I coached in another spot. And I called him about it, and he's like, yeah, we like him, but you got to tell him that this position and his skill set, we're only giving him, this is the cap amount of money. We're not giving him anymore because we've tagged this individual player in this offense is $100,000 player, right? But so what they're doing is like, okay, the big mauling tight end that doesn't catch 16, 17, 25, 30 balls in a year doesn't require the amount of money. So, okay, that's what we're going to pay him. So now we're going to give the guy who's the louder and things like that, you're getting $250,000. That's your money. Then the left tackle is going to make more than the center. That's the NFL way. So they're doing an NFL breakdown of it is the left tackles get paid. The centers don't get paid as much in the National Football League. That's just the way it is. Your corners are going to get paid. Your running backs are going to be taken care of, but you're not going to be a huge money guy because you're not indispensable because Genty, he's a little bit of a different breed, but they don't play consistently every game, right? You get banged up at that position. And so your numbers need to be deep in the stable. You need to have 3-4 running backs to get through a season right now. So your quarterback's got to get paid. Your elite pass rushers have to get paid, right? Your defensive tackles, if you can find a stud 3 technique, you got to get them paid. Your safeties, that's the position that is interesting. And then your top linebackers got to get paid. And then it's got to filter down. But I also think that what keeps people here and things like that is as long as they're making advancements to paying kids more money and getting better, kids are going to feel safer. And they're going to go, okay, my time's coming right now. But there's some kids that are going to jump in the portal. Like if a freshman jumps in the portal right now, don't freak out. Don't freak out because you don't know what happened in the building. He may not think it's a good fit. He may not like living in Boise. That's just the way it is. You got to let him go. You don't offer him a dime. Just go, hey, you know what? I understand. I appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best. But now you can go get somebody. And so those are the things you got to worry about.
I agree with you, but I've also heard that some of these players that have entered the portal was like before the bowl game, there was 5 or 6, younger guys. That was also some of those were the coaching staff saying, we don't really have a spot for you next year. Like it goes both ways too. It's not just the players leaving on their own. Some of these coaches with the way it's the dirty side of the game. It stinks. I get it, but it's not, you're not guaranteed a spot for 5 years. The coaches can say, hey man, you're probably better off going to play somewhere else. We need your spot for a transfer or whoever else. So some of those guys that left, they took the high road in their messages, but I know for a fact of at least one that was basically told, sorry, you don't have a spot here next year. So that does stink, but that does happen. It goes both ways.
Oh yeah. It's like, we've either out recruited you and we're just not going to pay for it anymore. We're not going to pay your education anymore. It just didn't work. So you got to move on. Right?
How do you see, Brad? I have one final thing for you. Let me thank our last set of sponsors here real quick. Taco Bell, appreciate them. TacoBellWorks.com, the SOM Management Group, the Nicolason family. We appreciate Taco Bell. If you're looking for a job, they're hiring. Great promotional opportunities, free food while you work, half the wages the next day after your shift. Just go into a local Boise Treasure Valley Taco Bell location. They have the paperwork to sign up right there in the store. And the food's pretty darn good as well. I think this might be a Taco Bell for lunch day for the boys since they don't have school today. Check them out. Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. Speaking of jobs, transportation compliance service, check them out. Transcomservice.com and get into the trucking industry. Transcomservice.com, whether it's DOT, overweight, all the permits and things you need. They're a local company helping folks all over the world. So if you're looking for a new career, maybe consider the trucking industry. Get more information at Transcomservice.com. You still want to support Ashton Genty on his way out? The Ashton Genty jerseys and gear is available at the Blue and Orange store. They also have the Mountain West Championship gear if you still want to commemorate the season, the Fiesta Bowl. They've got all that gear there at the Blue and Orange store. Online, theblueandorangestore.com. You can get it shipped anywhere in the world, or you can just go into the Boise Town Square Mall there on the second floor next to Pro Image. All your Boise State gear, as whether it be the Fiesta Bowl, the Mountain West Championship, Ashton Genty, or if you want to switch to basketball, they got the NIL shirts and things for Tyson Degenhart and company. Get it at the Blue and Orange store. We're now in January, so tomorrow, if the Broncos get 70 points, you get a hot dog and a soda for $2 2 days later at Jackson's. Hot dog and a soda for $2 at Jackson's when the Broncos score 70 points, and that'll start with tomorrow's game against San Diego State. And don't forget, Brad, Ahmed Hassanin got that big sack in the Fiesta Bowl, so today is the day. You can get a 91-cent fountain drink or coffee at Jackson's today, thanks to Ahmed Hassanin's sack in the Fiesta Bowl. So get on out to Jackson's, get your coffee, get your fountain drink, 91 cents for the final time to honor Ahmed Hassanin as he moves on to a pro career. So Jackson's 91-cent coffee or fountain drink today at Jackson. Speaking of food, leanfeastmeridian.com. Check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com. Lean Feast right there in Meridian on Eagle Road in Ustick. 10,000 plus options. They feed the football team weekly. They feed the basketball team weekly. They got deals with Tyson. They had a deal with Ashton. If you're looking to, support a company that really has great, healthy meal options and supports and gives back to the NIL game at Boise State and the teams themselves, check them out. Leanfeastmeridian.com. Steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, all that good stuff. Leanfeastmeridian.com. And if you have a voicemail for us, speakpipe.com/BNN, speakpipe.com/BNN. Leave us a voicemail. We'll get to those on the show. And those are courtesy of Signature Roofing at mysignatureroofing.com, covering our community for more than 20 years, whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an inspection, an estimate, they got you covered. My Signature Roofing, great locally owned roofing company for more than 2 decades. They got an NIL deal with RJ Keene. We appreciate Signature Roofing. We'll be telling you more about them moving forward. And now I lost my train of thought. But Brad, you look at you said you can't keep everybody, and you have this thing with the list and who it's going to be. And I did talk, by the way, to Cage Casey, the left tackle down in in Phoenix for the bowl game. I posted that on our Bronco Nation News YouTube channel, but he basically, and again, all it takes is one phone call with a number he can't refuse in the next 72 hours, and that changes. But he basically said he's pretty sure he'll be back at Boise State next year, and he kind of blew off, which maybe was a lie, whatever. I mean, it's kind of in a tough spot. What's he going to say? But he kind of blew off that he was getting a lot of interest from other schools. He said it was more NFL agents reaching out, asking about his interest in the NFL and that kind of stuff. But he said he thinks another year at college would do him well, and he thinks another year of his wife, he's already married, is on the volleyball team at Boise State. So I think his situation might be a little more complicated, but he is probably, as you're saying, he may be getting the highest of anybody on the team when it comes to the offers right now in terms of a starting left tackle for a playoff team and in his future. But you got Jaden Virgin Morgan coming off the edge as well. Ty Benefield, the safety, I know at times frustrates people, but he's a very talented guy for what they ask and his versatility. I know Ty Benefield, I'm sure, is going to get some interest. I mean, Prince Strawn at his size and what he can do, and he showed some flashes in the Fiesta Bowl there. If you're an SEC team looking at it for a wide receiver or something, you're watching the Fiesta Bowl going, oh, that guy's not bad. I mean, there's 7, 8, 9, 10 guys on this roster that are getting interest. But I remembered my train of thought here, Brad. The revenue sharing is coming in April, I believe it is. Boise State has already said they're going to opt into the revenue sharing. How does that play into this? Because I know NIL is not going to go away, but it's going to not be maybe quite as important if the schools can just start directly paying through revenue sharing. And how does a school like Boise State right now, can they, do you think they're already saying, hey, come April and official, we'll give you $1 million, or when this is official, we'll give you $700K. Like, can they at all recruit to that to try to keep some of these guys knowing it's coming in April here?
No, because I think the revenue sharing goes by university, and some of these schools that could possibly be talking to these young men have a lot more revenue to share than other people. So I think this is actually a spot where Boise can kind of be, think out of the box a little bit. Like, yeah, you have to, first of all, you have to opt into revenue sharing just for recruiting purposes. I mean, could you imagine if Boise State's recruiting a young man versus, let's just say, Fresno? They just came to my mind saying, okay, do you know Fresno didn't even opt into revenue sharing? I mean, do you understand what that means? Well, let me tell you how it means. That means they're not going to share anything with you where we are. So I think this is an intriguing situation here. You go to revenue sharing. There's your piece of the pie, right? And then all of a sudden, we're going to give you this, but we also have this horseshoe collective that we're still going to take advantage of all the NIL opportunities that we can get you to add more money, right? Think of it as an incentive bonus, right? The National Football League, you make $10 million, but you have $750,000 in bonuses, right? So you can use that as just a tack on. And I know the one thing about, and this is, you got a little bit of a, with people in the Boise area, this is a big difference between other schools is you have phenomenal support. Jackson's, Lithia Ford, and Lean Feast. A lot of your sponsors, quite honestly, help the football team a lot. People do it in separate ways and things like that. But the Horseshoe Collective, buying the beers, Jackson's donates, things like that. It's like anything else, right? In a family, if you're going to go buy a brand new car, you have to save for the car, right? And so now you're going to sock away a little bit of money. So the important thing about this is for everybody in this town is, do you know how much $20 or $50 goes a long way? In those little small donations, they add up, because Boise doesn't have the big guy that's going to say, okay, get who you want. Let me just write the check. That Boise doesn't have that, right? Until that's coming, okay. You just need your fan base to come around and go $10, $20. Go buy the ale that we're going to help. Okay. Kind of collective around the companies that are going to support the NIL, that are going to keep the kids in town. And I trust me, I don't work for any of these people, but I just see this coming is those little donations, and all of a sudden they start piling up. And all of a sudden you look back and go, oh my God.
You want proof of that? Jackson's gives 25 cents from every hot dog sold to the collective. The Horseshoe Collective gets 25 cents from every hot dog sold at a Jackson's, and their donation for 2024 was $100,000 just from people buying hot dogs at Jackson's. 25 cents over the course of a full year. You made 25 cents. Jackson's donated or will donate soon. The number was like $98,000, and they rounded up $100,000 to the collective just from people eating hot dogs at Jackson's.
Right. I mean, think of it. It's compound interest. I mean, think about it. Put 10 cents away, and all of a sudden, 10 years, you got a couple $1 million, right? So that's what's important about this. And I know that, and Dirk Cutter kind of hit a couple things. Prices, tickets have gone up, right? I know that. I understand that. But could you imagine if all of a sudden they did, they do Bronco Day where donations come into the university of like, hey, we want to do a collective day, right? We want to do a collective day, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z signings. We're going to turn it into this. We're going to turn it into that. And you get the football team within this community. Do you know how much people support this place but want to see the kids? And this is where I think it's not pay to play. This is getting the kids in the programs and around this community, because once you talk to these young men at Boise State, you're going to want to keep them here. And I just think anything can help through that collective and Horseshoe Ale and Jackson's and all that stuff. Is the small things go a long way. And I think where Boise is better than others is, I mean, I call it a blessing and a curse, to be quite honest with you. I've told a lot of people this. The blessing is we get to live in Boise. You know what the curse is? Trying to get your family out of Boise. Good luck. It's really hard. Because this is a great place to live. And in the program of where it's going, and people see that, like, I want to be a part of this. And I think you kind of want to strike when the iron's hot. And coming off the year they had, and I think in the future it looks bright. I think there's some holes that need to be filled that they will do. They're active doing it right now. The other thing is like college coaches, guys, if you guys think like this is downtime for right now, do you know these next 5 days they probably have a plane on ready? Because all of a sudden, because remember, the kids aren't on campus right now. They're home. And so now you're not around them. You're not around them. You don't have your arm around them. They're not laughing with the teammates. They're not in the locker room. You have got to be on the phone with them and go, hey, coach, I got a couple of schools coming out. Okay, I'm coming out to see you. I'll be there tomorrow. Okay, let's go grab lunch. Let's talk to mom and dad. Let's go grab dinner. Okay, and then let's see why you're a Bronco. Right? This is what we're going to do for you. But come on, this is what we got. The culture, this is what made you great. Why don't you want to finish this? Because you can't use draft picks against Boise. That's impossible. Casey can't use another team's draft picks against them. So that's where coaches are probably like, okay, hey, honey, I could get a call here, and I may be on a plane tomorrow just because I got to go see this young man. Oh, he plays for us. Like, well, welcome to college football. And so that's where I think the community and the coaches got to be ready and things like that. And I don't see it changing, but it needs to.
Well, Brad, appreciate your perspective on all this. We went over an hour here, which wasn't my goal, but great stuff. We could keep going another hour probably. I think we still have enough off-season stuff as of now to keep this going in the near future here. If that works for you, the next couple of Wednesdays, just kind of see where it goes, and eventually we'll get into spring ball. And I think maybe we can turn Brad Bedell into a basketball analyst as well and talk some hoops with.
No, I'm not. He shoots, he scores. Run down the court.
Rebound, play defense.
I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. Basketball ain't one of them.
Hey, I rebounding battle, the toughness inside. As an O-line guy, I could see you being a guy that
throw a bow or two, be an enforcer. That's why I like the goon on the team. I love him. But I mean, I think the next thing, this is what's going to be interesting, is this is now officially year-round with the portal. And not to mention, it's going to open up in the spring, too.
Yep.
So that's the one thing. It's like all the Boise State fans out there, have a sigh of relief come Sunday. Get through the recruiting, get through all that, and then let's have another hold your breath when the spring portal comes, because now the teams know, like, we need X, Y, and Z. And now we've got this much money now. Okay, we got to go get somebody.
Well, I'm gonna. They got a big basketball game tomorrow, so I'm gonna stay on for a few minutes and talk about that, Brad. We'll let you roll, but we'll plan on next Wednesday back on our regular Wednesday. Should be good now with no holidays and things, and we'll see if we have any key losses. We'll have something to discuss. Either they somehow hung on to everybody, or they lost somebody. One way or the other. We'll have some football, and we should get the OC info at some point in the next week or two. So we'll see. As long as there's football news, which, as you said, maybe year round, we'll keep writing the check to Brad Bedell and keep him coming on Wednesday morning. So we appreciate your time as always, Brad. Hope you had a good New Year's, and look forward to doing it again next Wednesday.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.
There he is, Brad Bedell. We appreciate him, as always, for giving us more than an hour of his time there talking transfer portal and NIL and everything else coming up. We do have a big basketball game tomorrow. San Diego State in town, 2 o'clock. There are limited tickets remaining. This game is not a sellout yet. They're still on student, winter break for the students. So the student section has some extra seats open. So if you are wanting to take your family to see the biggest basketball game of the season here at Extra Mile Arena, San Diego State in town tomorrow, 2 o'clock, perfect time on a Saturday. My wife and kids are going to the game, so you couldn't ask for a better time, 2 o'clock. So maybe some folks already just assume the game was sold out. No, there are tickets available on the Boise State website if you're wanting to go to this game, and they're pretty affordable as well. So I would, it's the perfect game. If you're looking for a fun game, fun atmosphere, good crowd, tomorrow would be the game to go to, 2 o'clock against San Diego State. And we take a look at the KenPom here for Boise State for this one. They are 58th. The number has dipped a little. I mean, aside from that one bad loss to Boston College, you'd feel really good about things right now for Boise State basketball. I know a lot of people have been on football, haven't really been paying attention. And by the way, we have Nathan Carroll. I'm going to post an article this here after the show. He kind of did a what you missed during football season, kind of an update here on basketball, as that kind of becomes the focus for fans moving forward here. And you take away the one bad loss to Boston College, and that's really the only kind of sore eye on the resume right now. That the loss to San Francisco, not a bad one. The loss to Washington State, not a bad one. Even though they were down, 25 or whatever, they end up only losing by 5, and that's a top 75 team. That's not a bad loss. And you've got the Clemson win, you've got the St. Mary's win. So a couple of nice wins. You do have the one Boston College loss at the buzzer, which really does change things, because if that shot misses and you win that game, you feel a lot different about things. And Boise State has won 5 in a row, and they're, the main thing is they're just not blowing teams out. And the metrics, you got to win big to improve some of the metrics. So they started the year at 47. They're 58 right now. Right now, their net and their KenPom and all that is not, probably good enough to make the NCAA tournament. But you have a lot of games coming up, and this next stretch right here, if you look at it, 6 of the next 7 games are against teams in the top 100 at KenPom. So the next stretch here really is a chance to make some hay, and you could really improve your numbers here. San Diego State and UNLV both at home. At Utah State is going to be tough. You get Wyoming at home, a chance to get a win there. And then at New Mexico, at Colorado State, home to Nevada. This next stretch, 6 out of 7, 3 of them on the road. This is a huge, next couple of weeks for Boise State basketball. If you can go, I think you'd probably take 4-2 in that stretch, to be honest, or 5-2 in the 7 games. If you could go 5-2 in the next 7 games and look up, and have 4 wins, against those teams in that. I mean, you got to win the home game. San Diego State, UNLV would be huge to win at home. At Utah State's going to be extremely tough. At New Mexico is going to be extremely tough. But if you could, go get a win at Colorado State and go get take care of business at home, in that Nevada game, and then Fresno, this is a big stretch for them. So the numbers are what they are right now. As I said, they've got a little bit of work to do here, but there is a chance to get some, marquee wins here and a couple of quad 1 wins over the next couple of weeks. So they've been tinkering with the starting lineup, making a lot of changes to that. It's been very interesting to see kind of what they're doing from that standpoint. And Nathan Carroll, I know, dives into that more because they've started, a lot of different guys. Omar Stanley didn't even start the last game and didn't even play a lot. Chris Lockett Jr. played 26 minutes the other day, but didn't even start the game. So you've got Tyson Degenhart and Cardenas, and the other guys have really kind of been rotating, whether it's a Keene, whether it's a Dylan Anderson, whether it's a Omar Stanley, Andrew Meadow. Julian Bowie has started a couple games, so they've really been kind of tinkering with the starting lineup and trying to find something that works. And to this point, they have not been able to to do that. So Dylan Anderson started the last game. He's a very interesting guy, Tyson. He's just a bad matchup for some teams and a good matchup for some teams. So it just depends. If a team plays more quicker guards, he's not necessarily a guy that you want in there a lot. It just kind of depends. And so he's a unique skill set as a 7-footer that can shoot. But they've had a lot of games this year where he has just not been a good matchup for them. But, I think he's going to start to play more. We'll see, how much he contributes. But Omar Stanley, we thought he was doing things and then didn't even start, was starting to get back to himself and then didn't even start the last game. So just been a weird year. And I do think the one thing with this team is there is still so much room for them to grow. Usually by January, you kind of are what you are, but I still think like if they can just find that right group, like I really like Javen Buchanan and what he's been doing lately. I really like, some of the Lockett, Bowie. Like I still think this team has got a ton of room to improve, which is a very positive thing here moving forward for this team. So are they where they want to be right now? No. I mean, if you told them, is this where you'd be 11-3, you'd have these wins, but you have the Boston College loss and these are your computer metrics. Probably would wish it was a little better at this point if you're Leon Rice. But as I said, you just have the one bad loss and then just the way they're winning some of these games. They're not necessarily blowing teams out or winning, with a lot of style points, which kind of hurts the numbers sometimes. So I think that it's not, perfect, but you're certainly not in a terrible position. I mean, you're certainly in position to be in position, I guess, as some would say. You have a chance to, there's a lot of opportunities left in conference play to get some quality wins and certainly a chance for this team to still make the NCAA tournament. They just, they're certainly in striking distance. They just have to go out and take care of business, and they've got a big some big opportunities here coming up. As I said, San Diego State comes in, you're projected to win by 2. I mean, you look at the individual win-loss numbers there, you're only projected to lose 4 games. The overall projected record is 22-9 because the chances that you win every game you're supposed to win, lose every game you're supposed to lose is not exactly a strong percentage. But when you put all the data together, they're projected to go 22-9 overall and 14-6 in conference play. So They're 3-0 right now, and Ken Palm projects them to lose 6 conference games. Overall, we'll see how that materializes. I don't know if 14-6 is enough to get this team in the tournament. That would be 22-9. I think they probably need to win another game or two. But they've been pretty good, not great, and obviously a lot of big opportunities. And it would start tomorrow if they could keep on this roll here. They've won 5 in a row. Going to try to make it 6 against San Diego State tomorrow. Appreciate you guys, and remember, we're getting closer to our giveaway here. I appreciate all of you that have subscribed of late, but if you want to win a VIP basketball experience, 24 hours of a lifetime, ride on a private jet to Las Vegas, hang out at Circa Resort and Casino, have a steak dinner at Barry's, go to the game in style in a limousine, and watch the game February 4th, the conference game down there in Vegas. It's going to be an awesome trip. You get to stay the night at Circa. We come back the next day on the private jet. And this is open to all subscribers. So any yearly subscriber, you're automatically entered to win this. We're going to draw this in about 10 days or so. So if you've been on the fence about wanting to get in and get a subscription to Bronco Nation News, now is the time. All the portal updates, all the offseason football coverage, and the Mike Prater's columns, Nathan Carroll, myself, as we get into basketball season as well. Plenty of news coming the next month or two. And this is the perfect time to jump in. $50 for a yearly subscription to Bronco Nation News using that promo code BNN50 deal. Your first year is just $50, and then it renews at the normal price of $70 every year after that. But $50 for a full year of coverage, and you get all the coverage, and that should be enough to want to subscribe in itself. But then you do get entered as a yearly subscriber into the private jet trip for 2 to go to Las Vegas on a private jet. So we've had 2 great trips, 2 great wins for Boise State. And we're hoping to make it 3 if they can find a way to get a win on this trip. So subscribe now, $50, BNN 50 deal. Tell your friends. We'd love to have you subscribe and love to have you join our community here and have a chance to go on this trip. If you're unable to subscribe, I understand money's a little tight. If at a minimum, you're watching a free show on YouTube here for almost 90 minutes. If you can just support our sponsors and, go have lunch at Taco Bell or switch your bank over to ICCU or purchase a shirt from the Blue and Orange store or Lithia, all of our great sponsors, hit up rowpaint.com. So at a minimum, we ask you to support the sponsors so we can keep these shows on YouTube free. And when you do go support them, let them know that it's because of, Bronco Nation News and what they're doing to help our coverage here. So that does go a long way to let them know that. So appreciate you guys for watching the show. We'll see you at Extra Mile Arena tomorrow. Pre-game show starts around 1 o'clock. It's a big CBS 2 o'clock game. Should be fun. Get your tickets if you don't have them because the game's not sold out yet. Boise State, San Diego State should be an awesome game. Looking forward to it. 1 o'clock, the pre-game show tomorrow. And we'll obviously have all kinds of hey, Sean's been digging the Cantina chicken at Taco Bell. Love hearing that. Todd, it's going to be about 10 days or so. I'm trying to think of a good day to do it. We don't have that yet, but it'll be about 10 days or so. I am going to Circa for the Blues Knights game in a couple of weeks, and that might be a good day to announce it while we're at Circa for the trip, and that's on January 20th, I think. So we will. It'll be within the next 2 weeks or so. We'll get that done. The latest would probably be January 20th, but I'll give you a couple weeks to try to get off work and get ready for the trip. So appreciate again all of you that have subscribed already, and if you can, we'd love to have you. $50 BNN 50 deal. But if any portal news happens today, anything else, we'll have that covered. There's a groundbreaking ceremony at 11:30 tomorrow. We'll try to get you some video of that on the North End Zone project, and then live at 1 o'clock with the Lithia Florida Boise pregame show to get you set for Boise State basketball against San Diego State. Have a good rest of your Friday. We'll talk to you later today on social media, I'm sure. Go read BroncoNationNews.com for Nathan Carroll's 5 takeaways from the Fiesta Bowl and his basketball story that I'll be posting soon, getting you set for the game tomorrow. So have a good rest of your Friday. Thanks a lot. We'll see you at 1 o'clock for the pregame show tomorrow. Boise State basketball, San Diego State basketball. Thank you to all of our great sponsors. Thank you to all of you subscribers, all the comments and things we got. Appreciate Brad and Jay for coming on as well today, and appreciate you guys. It was a fun football season. I know it's coming to an end, but there'll be plenty of off-season news all off-season. The news never stops with the Boise State football team. We'll have you covered every day with football talk here on Bronco Nation News, basketball talk as well. And again, we'll see you 1 o'clock tomorrow, the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. And if you're at Extra Mile Arena, come say hello. Big one, Boise State, San Diego State. And as always, we got you covered. Bronco Nation News Live, bronconationnews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by RowPaint.com, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, by Lithia Ford, The Blue and Orange Store, Western Collective, by Jackson's, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, by Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and by Timberstone Golf Course.